Notable events for Ukraine as the country marks 500 days since the start of Russia's campaign in Ukraine. First and foremost, President Zelenskyy, who was in Turkey trying to campaign for membership in NATO, part of a broader campaign throughout Europe for membership in NATO, left Turkey with 5 former prisoners of war, Ukrainian commanders, military commanders, who were heroes in Ukraine. They had been holed out underground in Mariupol. It was the first city taken by Russia since the start of that campaign last February, the biggest city taken by Russia. And these men held their ground underground in Azovstal, a steel plant, until Kyiv, Ukraine's government, said, men, it's time to surrender. They surrendered. They were taken prisoner of war by Russia. And then in a prisoner swap, they were handed over to Turkey with the agreement being they wouldn't come back to Ukraine until the war was over. For inexplicable reasons, President Zelenskyy returned to Ukraine on Saturday with the 5 commanders. In another notable event, President Zelenskyy's office released a video of him visiting Snake Island. Snake Island, highly symbolic, a heroic island for Ukraine. Why is that? On the very first day of Russia's campaign in Ukraine, that's February 24th, 2022, commanders of the flagship Moskva radioed Ukrainian soldiers who were on Snake Island, that's a small island overlooking the Odessa port, and they said, surrender or die. And essentially, the Ukrainian soldiers on the island said, expletive, expletive, nah, we're not going to. And they didn't. Eventually, Russia took over the island, but then Ukraine sank that flagship, Moskva, and reportedly, according to Ukraine, hundreds of Russian servicemen were killed in sinking the ship. By the end of June, Russia withdrew from the island. They say it was a goodwill gesture. But for Ukraine, President Zelenskyy visiting the island and saying this is symbolic of the fact that Ukraine will take back every bit of territory that Russia has taken was certainly a point of pride for Ukraine on this 500th day of Russia's campaign in Ukraine. Stephanie Fried, CGTN, Mykolaiv, Ukraine.